And this is the Ampex, and maybe Mr. Klazak could join me and give a little talk on what preceded this and the motivation and so forth for it.
The Ampex company is actually named after Alexander M. Piatov. He was actually bankrolled by Bing Crosby when Bing Crosby had a national radio program, and Crosby was able to tape record it, do all the editing, and make it perfect so that when it went on the air, it was pristine and correct, fast-paced. They could cut out all the dead air. They could make it really pop, if you know what I mean, radio-wise. And he bankrolled the company with some number of tens of millions of dollars to produce the Ampex 200. Now, the 200 was a washing machine style machine that could handle the 10.5-inch reels and typically 15 and 30 inches per second. And at that rate, this 10.5-inch reel would only last a half an hour. But very good fidelity and good signal to noise. The Ampex 200 was followed by the 300, which was a more modern rendition of the washing machine style device. However, these things are huge, and they were one after another, and you could fit maybe 3 or 4 of them in this room at a max. So what they did is they made a scaled down 19-inch version. The old 200s and 300s were 24-inch. These are 19-inch, and that meant that it fit into the standard EIA rack system.
Yeah, that's 19 inches from here to here.
And the 350 uses octal tubes, which is the 8-pin plug-in tubes, not the 9 or 7-pin miniatures. And this is the quintessential 1957 state-of-the-art. Recording studios like Motown used these. Radio stations used these. These were the workhorse of the industry. These two reel motors were actual separate large motors with the capacitor for the windings to start them and keep them in the right direction. There was a flutter flywheel here which was mounted on ball bearings with a large several pound flywheel in the back and a little tension arm to keep everything located height-wise off the deck into the head block. The head block had an erase, a record, and a play head. The erase head here was mounted on a block. The record head had adjustments so you could align it both azimuth and height. And then it had a single mu metal shield all around the head, and when you closed the gate, it didn't allow any hum products from the motors or the transformers to get into the audio. Now, the playback head had a triple laminated shielding system around it so that the playback was absolutely hum-free. These things would routinely get 55 and 60 dB signal-to-noise ratio on a full-track tape with ease. And as Dave mentioned before, 30 CPS to 20 kilohertz now was very easy to obtain and very steady. The capstan motor here is a hysteresis synchronous motor. The shaft also has a flywheel on the back of it. Oh, one thing I might point out. When Ampex made the input flywheel, flutter flywheel system, they assembled the ball bearings. There's a dual ball bearing setup there. They offset the bearings by 1/2 so that it minimized the run out of this. And they took the final cut with a lathe of the final tape surface with those bearings. So it was a matched, complete set.
That 55 dB signal-to-noise ratio, 50 or 55, I believe that was below 0.
That was below 0, yeah.
Yeah, there was.
And there's had to be a headroom above that.
Yeah, lots of headroom above that 0 point.
Right. And then there's a pinch roller that is a rubber on an arm that's controlled by a solenoid that allowed for very rapid startup of the tape when you pushed go, and then a tape break arm here to guide, with a tape guide on it, to guide the tape onto the take-up reel. There was no tension control other than you set the voltage with some variable resistors in the back, and it had a pretty smooth wind throughout.
Why don't you run it through? Fast forward, rewind. The head gate.
Yep. You can see it has a very fast rewind or fast forward. And then if you hit rewind,
This is the preferred way to stop it, is to hit rewind and then stop when it's actually come to a stop. Don't use the brakes till you need them. Otherwise, it's all engine braking. That would be a typical cycle, and the engineers would use this machine on thousands of cycles like that per day. Maybe not per day, but per
well,
week.
if you were doing editing, you could
You
use
were.
a couple hundred per day easily. And similarly, when you push the stop button, it stops very quickly. It's all relay solenoid controlled. There's 3 relays on the control module. There's a solenoid for the brake for each of the reel motors, and a solenoid to engage the capstan motor.
Well,
When
tell
the
us, Bob, how do you know so much about this machine?
I rebuilt dozens of these in the 60s and 70s. I worked at Almus Hi-Fi, where we were right next to WKNR, AM and FM, Keener Radio, and they would always buy replacement parts and tapes and stuff like that from us at Almus during the mid-60s. And the chief engineer at that time, Jerry Martin, invited me over to take a look at the operation, and there were just racks and racks of these all throughout the station, in the production studios and in the air studios to play tapes.
So, this is an alignment tape. Actually, here's a period alignment tape.
Yes.
This you use, I used to, at Motown, every day tune up the recorders by running the alignment tape on them and adjusting screws. Just didn't run the tape. And this is where that reel of tape came from. This cost $50 for half an hour of mono recording. So it's not cheap.
Anybody who's been associated with these tape machines had the Ampex alignment tape 31321-01, and everybody knows that by heart, who's ever aligned these machines.
Okay, well, thank you, Bob.
You're very welcome.
So over to the quick farm.